Chapter 37. The foreman, Lance Jersey, chosen unanimously by the other jurors, stood at the head of the table and surveyed the room. He wanted to go home, back to his wife, children, and his life. The trial had drained him in ways he hadn't expected. A guilty thought lingered at the edge of his mind. A case of this magnitude could land a book deal. People had built careers on less. He pushed the thought away and rolled up his sleeves. "Right," he said, clearing his throat. "We all know why we're here. We have a duty to decide whether Rachael Brown is guilty or not based on the burden of proof." He paused, scanning the faces around the table. Let's start with the facts. First question, motive. A middle-aged man leaned forward, frowning. "Her past is heartbreaking, no doubt about that," he said. "But does it excuse what she did? She admitted she killed her husband. Isn't that enough?" A young woman shook her head immediately. "But the trauma." The older juror cut in gently, but firmly. "I'm not dismissing it, but can trauma justify manslaughter?" Across the table, James Patterson shifted in his seat. He rarely spoke, but when he did, people listened. Iraq had carved something permanent into his voice. "PTSD is real," he said quietly. The psychiatrist made that clear. People don't always know what they're doing in moments like that. Juror number 9 sighed, conflicted. "But she didn't call 999. The words lingered in the air like smoke. Lance seized on them. "Exactly," he said, nodding slowly. "If it was an accident, why not call for help once she realized?" The room began to divide. Two camps emerged almost naturally. Those who believed the Crown's case that Rachael's actions were deliberate, and those who believed that trauma had hijacked her instincts. Voices rose, hands gestured, chairs scraped against the floor. Hyatt Johnson, a recently retired fintech CEO, finally spoke. He had been quiet until now, absorbing everything. He rubbed his temples before looking up. "Let's slow down," he said firmly. "This is someone's life. We cannot get this wrong." The room stilled. Even Lance felt it, because Hyatt was right. If they convicted the wrong person, they would carry that decision for the rest of their lives. Lance exhaled and rubbed the back of his neck. "All right," he muttered. "We do this properly. Witness by witness." A murmur of agreement spread around the table. Some leaned forward, ready to dissect every detail. Others slumped back in frustration, clearly eager to vote and be done with it. Minutes stretched into hours. Hours blurred into days. Arguments flared, voices cracked, tempers rose and cooled again. Some jurors changed their minds, others refused to budge. By the third day, one truth had settled heavily over them all. This was not simple. A woman's life hung in the balance. A man's life had already been lost, and none of them wanted guilt staining their conscience. A younger juror tapped her pen nervously against the table. "The law says they have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt," she said quietly. She looked at Lance. "If even one of us has doubt, we can't convict." Silence fell. Lance glanced at the clock on the wall. The ticking suddenly felt louder than it should. He swallowed. "Can we vote?" No one objected. One by one, hands were raised. The decision formed slowly, reluctantly, almost like something none of them truly wanted to own. Lance's throat tightened. Then, with a deep breath, he reached forward and pressed the buzzer. They had reached a verdict. Meanwhile, back in Stonebridge Remand Centre, Rachael waited. The common room hummed with low noise, but it all felt distant, muted, as if she were listening from underwater. Then she felt arms wrap around her. It was warm and steady. "Don't worry." She knew the voice instantly. Kate Jones, the closest thing she had to a sister in this place. "You are not guilty," Kate said firmly. "Your past is guilty, not you. and the jury will see that. Rachel let out a shaky breath. I'll be the one to walk you out of here, Kate added. I promise. Rachel nodded, but words wouldn't come. She hadn't expected kindness here. She had entered these walls alone, grieving and accused, and yet now she had people that she considered as comrades, friends, and something dangerously close to family. Thank you, she whispered. The women began to drift apart. Then the television in the corner flickered. Breaking news! The room froze as a screen filled with an image of the Houses of Parliament. A grave-looking news anchor spoke in clipped, urgent tones. In a shocking development, Parliament is now debating a bill proposing capital punishment for illegal immigrants convicted of serious crimes in the United Kingdom. A Cameroonian woman gasped. Are they serious? That's not possible, someone whispered. Not here. The broadcast continued. The bill has passed its second reading in the House of Commons and is now moving to the House of Lords. How is this happening? Kate demanded, her voice rising. Across the room, Taryn, a poised, sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, folded her arms tightly. Why would they even discuss this? She asked quietly. It won't pass, Kate said quickly. Too quickly. It can't. But fear had already entered the room. Then someone whispered the words that changed everything. It's already past the Commons. A ripple of panic swept through the women. They wouldn't bring back the death penalty, someone muttered. Not in this country. But Taryn kept staring at the screen. Then why is it still moving? She asked. Rachel felt something drop inside her. A void opened beneath her ribs. She wasn't just fighting a conviction anymore. She was fighting for her life. If the jury found her guilty and this bill became law, prison would not be the end. It would be the beginning of something far worse. Her knees weakened. Kate grabbed her arm. Don't panic, she said quickly. This is politics. It'll die in the Lords. The king would never sign something like that. But the room didn't believe her. The broadcast shifted to a parliamentary debate. The Prime Minister appeared on screen, arguing fiercely against the bill. Then the opposition. A black African woman, raised in South Africa, speaking with fire and conviction. We must protect our citizens. We cannot allow those who enter this country illegally to take innocent lives. Capital punishment is the only true deterrent. A chill swept through the room. Oh my God, someone whispered. They're serious. Then a voice cut through the silence, calm, unapologetic. I think it's a brilliant idea. Every head snapped toward the speaker. A woman from the Midlands stood with her arms folded. What? Kate demanded. We don't want criminals harming our citizens, she said coolly. I'll sleep better when illegal murderers are held accountable. You're a racist, someone spat. She shrugged. It's the will of the people. The argument erupted around them, voices rising, anger colliding with fear. But Rachel heard none of it. All she could hear was the television and the sound of her own heartbeat. It had passed the Commons. It was heading to the Lords. Her trial was ending. The verdict was coming. And suddenly she could see it vividly, horribly, as if it had already happened. A newspaper front page, her face staring back at the world, a headline in merciless black ink. Rachael Brown, first to hang under the new law. Her breath caught as her hands flew to her stomach. Her baby. Would they take her child from her arms before she even had the chance to hold it? Would her baby grow up an orphan? No. Her voice cracked, barely audible. I know I did it. The room quieted. A few women turned toward her. But I didn't mean to. The words broke something open inside her. The television kept talking, but all she could hear was blood roaring in her ears. Then a guard appeared at the doorway. Rachael Brown! She looked up slowly. The jury has reached a verdict. You're due back in court tomorrow morning. The words landed like a sentence. Yesterday she had been fighting for a not guilty verdict. Now she was fighting for something far more terrifying. Her life. Because if the jury found her guilty and the law changed, no judge, no lawyer, no mercy would be enough to save her. O Lord, hear my prayer. In your faithfulness, give ear to my plea. In your righteousness, answer me. Psalm 143, verse 1.